Uh, I'm in orange. Every child matters. Orange Shirts Day. Um, it's important for us to talk about uh, the the history of this country. Again, when we're talking about why this country was founded, the treatment uh, that has been bestowed onto indigenous communities and nations and individuals. This continues to happen. We just found out about the tragic incidents that happened in Quebec. We're saddened, and I hope and I hope our governments take these issues of systemic racism seriously. These things are important. We can't just always say it in words. We have to actually take action to change this country. So today we're going to be releasing a short HCCI video. The video has been in the making since I believe late 2018, early 2019, highlighting some of the work that we've been doing um, for the past 2.5 years or so. So we just wanted to share with you during during your lunch time. Thanks for joining in. We're getting some messages. Alicia, uh, thank you very much. Oh, Alicia is from United Way. Excited to see the happenings. Yeah. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to do a little sharing of the screen, and then we're going to play the video for you. And then after we play the video, you're going to hear from the chair of our board, Crystal Mark, and then we're going to hear from some of the HCCI staff that are doing all this phenomenal work here in Hamilton and even extending provincially. So let me get this up and running, and then we can watch this video together.
The Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion It brings people together, it drives policy change, and it supports community building.
The role of the Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion is one of anti-oppression and anti-racism work. We do diversity, inclusion, and equity here in the city of Hamilton, working with community partners pretty much from every single cultural community background. Is a place where everybody can come to find their voice. It is not a center that speaks on behalf of people, it simply offers them a megaphone.
The climate in Hamilton is only continuing to get scarier for racialized people and Black people in the city, but programs like this create a space where we can talk about it, where you can understand that it's not your individual experience, that you're part of a greater picture, and you can develop the tools to do something about it.
We bring some uncomfortable topics into the foreground. We meet with different organizations to talk to them about how their organizations can be more reflective of the city and the folks they are working with. One of the things that we're recognizing is that for our...
Hello everyone. So yes. Okay. So we're having problems seeing the video. Let me try this again. Hold up 1 second. Yeah, I know it's the screen sharing issue. Just give me 1 second. We always have these technical difficulties. Uh, just give me a second to load everything up, and then hopefully we'll be able to see it. Okay, let's try it this time. Okay, how is it now?
The Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion is a significant community asset. It brings people together, it drives policy change, and it supports community building.
Okay, I figured it all out. We're good to go now. I figured it all out now. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here is the video. Enjoy.
The Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion is a significant community asset. It brings people together, it drives policy change, and it supports community building.
The role of the Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion is one of anti-oppression and anti-racism work. We do diversity, inclusion, and equity here in the city of Hamilton, working with community partners pretty much from every single cultural community background. Is a place where everybody can come to find their voice. It is not a center that speaks on behalf of people, it simply offers them the megaphone.
The climate in Hamilton is only continuing to get scarier for racialized people and Black people in our city, but programs like this create a space where we can talk about it, where you can understand that it's not your individual experience, that you're part of a greater picture, and you can develop the tools to do something about it.
We bring some uncomfortable topics into the foreground. We meet with different organizations to talk to them about how their organizations can be more reflective of the city and the folks they are working with.
One of the things that we're recognizing is that for our youth, it's not about skill sets, it's about opportunities. And so by providing early opportunities to connect our youth with really incredible mentorship opportunities, they can begin to see a future beyond what is presented to them in the media, perhaps reflected to them in their communities.
So we talked about policing in Hamilton, and policing in schools, and how that impacted them. We took 50 Black youth to Queen's Park to meet Black officials so that they could imagine being in a space that had traditionally left them out. We also had a session on Blackness and Indigenous solidarity. We also had a session on art and expression and how we have historically used art and hip-hop and pop culture to really express ourselves and take up space.
And so our job is to capture the picture of communities and folks that are marginalized and that are excluded, and then to relay that information back to the city to say, hey, look, these are voices that are not being heard, or these are voices that are being pushed out. And it's important to ensure that those voices are reflected in every decision that the city takes, because excluded and marginalized communities are still part of our.
Citizen to me means participation, being a part of the table, a part of the decision-making process. That's civic inclusion, getting involved in your community, getting involved in voting, in running for office, having a say at a town hall meeting. It means I belong, I'm here, and I have something to say.
The volunteers that we work with, organizations that we work with, and folks that we collaborate with, we all
I would love to live in a community, in a country that need daily reminders of the obvious inequities and injustices that people face. But the reality is that in today's day, now more than ever, we need to have institutions that are willing to speak truth to power, that recognizes the lived experience of people and Center, one that champions, individuals as well as entire marginalized communities. The role of Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion is really to provide a conscience for the discussions around injustice and inequality.
Yes, so there you have it. There you have it. That video highlights some of the work we were doing with respect to the Black Youth Mentorship Program at Bernie Custer Secondary School. We had students initially started at Sir John McNabb Secondary School, closed down now at Bernie, and this year we're excited to let you know that the program is still continuing at Bernie Custer's and also at McNabb Secondary School up on the mountain. So, with that being said, for those of you that are missing on this premiere, don't worry, we'll have the video up on our YouTube channel, and you can check it out and share it with your community. So up next, we also want to hear from all the folks that make HCCI possible. So we're joined who is the chair of the board, and so I think sometimes people don't know that HCCI is a collective, collaborative space, and they might not know or hear from our board. And so, since you are the chair, we'll hand it over to you, and you can say a couple of words. Oh, we can't hear you.
Still working out the digital world. Greetings, everyone, and ani to those who support Indigenous community awareness through Orange Shirt Day. Thank you, Kojo, for that great introduction and that wonderful film. My name is Crystal Mark, and I'm the chair for the Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion. I've been with the center for 2 years as a volunteer. A little bit about me: I'm an equity educator, writer, consultant, and parent to 4 children who are thriving well in Hamilton. I'm happy to be here with you today and share and witness this video that has been a long time in the making. I cannot underscore how much the work that HCCI does and what it means in these times. We are living in very politically divisive times. We are moving through a pandemic. We are coming to racial awakening and reckoning for Indigenous and Black peoples. And we've done a lot. I want to thank our donors. I want to thank our staff. There has been caremongering, mentoring, support. And for those of you who don't know what caremongering is literally mobilizing food resources for those who do not have. And HCCI did that with great aplomb. I applaud our staff. We received donations in the amount over of $100,000 from unions, from corporations, from organizations, from individuals. And one of the things I would like to ask you today is to consider becoming a monthly donor to our cause. It could be $5 a month. It could be $500 a month. It all depends on how you want to put your money and where you're able to put your money. But we are doing work that is equity and inclusion based. We are giving support to those in our city who would normally be left behind. And we're not just giving skills development, but we're giving connection, resource, empowerment, and space to thrive. So I want to thank you, each of you, for being here today, and you can donate at www.hcci.ca. Thank you. Have a great day. Miigwech.
Okay. Thank you very much to the chair of the board, Crystal Mark. Like I said, our board of directors, sometimes they don't get seen in the public eye because of the great work they're doing behind the scenes. But thank you very much for speaking on behalf of the board. Okay, thank you. Okay, next up we have our very own senior program coordinator, the one and only Sarah Jama.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. So can you tell everyone, the work that you are doing here at HCCI, some of the work you've done in the past and some of the work you're currently doing?
Yeah, sure. This year I'm responsible for the second cohort of the Hamilton Civic Leadership Program. The Hamilton Civic Leadership Program is supposed to fill a gap between um, leadership opportunities for young people with disabilities, young racialized people at HCCI. Specifically, this understanding that there's not a lot of spaces to engage critically with political institutions while also critiquing them. I think a lot about how in cities like Toronto, there's infrastructure to support young people who want to learn how to express themselves and push toward change making. There is the Canadian Federation of Students, while there are issues with that institution, provided a lot of support and resources for young people in school, post-secondary institutions to talk about how do you pick a topic that you care about the most and actually move toward implementing a change around that topic, whether it's the climate crisis, whether it's around policing and racism in our city. How do we go from point A to point B in terms of understanding that you don't have to just go by what exists, but you can create and push for entirely new systems. And so I think that's part of what the Hamilton Civic Leadership Program is meant to do. Applications actually close today at midnight for the second cohort, which will run from October 7th until the end of March. So if you're interested and you're a young person between the ages of 17 to 24, I would suggest putting in an application. You'll get to meet with a variety of racialized elected officials, but also organizers, right? People who've actually been able to successfully work outside of systems to create change. And I think, yeah, this program is important because we're often told to do our 9 to 5 and to really take what's given to us in terms of the oppression that exists. And so a step forward would be to sort of break that down. And I think we get a lot of bad rep when we talk about empowering youth and young people in our city to move toward making change from the people that want to hold on to power. So I'm thinking about today, I was before this actually watching Cameron Crouch and the Integrity Commissioner meeting and the comments that were being made there about how a lot of what Cameron was doing and saying was not in line because he's a chair of a city committee. My question would be then, why is the city council putting so much pressure on a volunteer who's also queer, who's pushing for queer issues, without actually examining themselves? And the amount of times that the integrity commissioner has investigated council and individual council members, and yet that same level of reprimand, that there's a lack of a call for impeachment, right? And so in our city, because people are not being trained to question power in the ways that it exists, we're seeing the same mistakes being made over and over again, and people getting away with holding on to power for over 2 decades without making space for new people to exist. So I hope out of this cohort, people run for office. I hope out of this cohort, HCCI continues to grow. And I hope out of this cohort, there will continue to be a larger growth in this cabal. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you for those words. I think it's important when we talk about civic leadership and participation, like in the video. It means how do people engage and how decisions are made that affect them eventually, right? So, yeah, these are things that we all have to talk about and we all have to push forward, right? The one that you forgot to mention was your work around the Disability Justice Network of Ontario. Can you
I
please,
slipped up in the beginning.
yeah, can you please add?
Not really. Yeah, the Disability Justice Network of Ontario is mentored by HCCI. So thank you to Coach for all of your great work. We're funded through the Youth Opportunities Fund. We're heading into our third and final year of funding through the Ontario Trillium Foundation. The purpose of this organization is to build the political capacity in young people with disabilities to get away from seeing themselves as burdens. Most of us, especially if you're a young person who's been raised in a society that's ableist, has been taught to go to student accessibility services and ask for help over and over and over again, or different services that are supposed to support you. But we're not taught the whole question of where do you go as a disabled person when the systems in place that are supposed to give you access don't work when they fail you. And so the purpose of the Disability Justice Network is to really critically ask that question and to teach young people with disabilities how to build systems that work for them. And that has looked like a research committee that has recently received a $20,000 grant to work in partnership with Dr. Emil Joseph at McMaster University to control and to look into research and data that impacts young people with disabilities as they engage with our healthcare system, our education system. There's very little data that impacts young people with disabilities in Canada that's like especially collected by young people with disabilities. And so I'm super excited for that. We also have a campaigns committee and an education committee that both work on taking on campaigns to as sort of a testing model to teach people how to actually push for change. So we ran a campaign around the assistive devices program, which is a program that's not. The assistive devices program pretty much legislates that assistive devices are not part of our healthcare system, right? So a chair can cost thousands of dollars, hearing aids, oxygen tanks, anything that you need that's a device in order to survive is not fully funded by our government. It's not like you can take your OHIP card and get that, right? The government expects you to pay partially for your assistive device. So that means that people living in extreme poverty can often go decades without proper equipment. The ADP program also has issues in that if your chair or your oxygen tank breaks down and needs to be repaired, they don't give you a replacement while it's being repaired. And often they're capitalizing and making money off of everyday things that people need to survive. And so we ran a campaign around that, and we got a motion tabled at Queen's Park. We also ran a campaign around the snow removal in Hamilton. Hamilton has the largest density of people with disabilities in the entire province. But we have a city council that refuses to do something as simple as remove snow because a lot of us get stuck in the winter. So yeah, there was that, and lots of other stuff. In terms of other work that we've been doing, we tend to host virtual events once a month. We just had one last week on disability justice and abolition that got terribly Zoom bombed by fascists, so that was not good. We have as well a mutual aid project that we're running in collaboration with Eric's Cupboard, the Hamilton Student Mobilization Network, Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion, where we've been able to deliver thousands of food kits across the city to people with disabilities, but also anybody support with food. We work with the New Vision Youth Church to pack up the kits, deliver out the kits, and that's going to be, we've been on pause, but hopefully that will start up in the second or third week of October. We were just sort of rejigging our system to be winter ready, talking about things like, should we get volunteer snow tires and things like that. I'm hoping that we will become an official nonprofit by March and then be able to expand not just into Hamilton, but across the province. I will let you all know how that goes.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm glad you made removal. For those of that participated in a survey that the city put out, that survey came out of all the great work that the Disability Justice Network of Ontario did. So again, when we're talking about issues around disability justice, again, we're talking about issues that serve our entire city, right? Because as you always say, through your lifetime, there will be a time where you will have a disability. So it's important for us to start thinking about what that means, and also know the limitations of the AODA, which all organizations and municipalities have to have public spaces that are compliant with the AODA. So thank you, Sarah, for all your great work, and we'll continue to see what happens. I believe, am I able to share that there's another video coming out of all the work that DJ Ado has been doing?
For sure.
Okay, so stay tuned. We'll be having another video release party. So up next, I'm gonna bring in Rose and Samson. We have Samson. Samson and Rose. Is Rose there? Rose? No. Okay. We have Samson. So Samson. Samson is he was featured in the video. You could see him connecting with some of the Black youth that we have in the Black Youth Mentorship Program. So, can you tell us what's going to happen this year and what has changed with respect to the pandemic?
Yeah, so like the video shows some of the youth from last year, some of the events that had happened. Like, for example, a photo of Desmond Cole was one of the sessions that we did at Bernie Custis. Now, in respects to the pandemic, the program is moving to be online, which will be safer for everyone. However, we're trying to figure out new ways to make things more engaging within the content of it. A few of like the guest speakers that we have solidified for now include a producer by the name of SLMN, who's a local Black producer who's worked with the likes of Mariah Carey, Freddie Gibbs, a few other names. Another person that we mentioned to come in as well, to stay on the financial literacy topic, which was one that I noticed that last year the youth were really engaged with, will be another entrepreneur from Toronto by the name of Jabril Jallo, who owns Get Fresh Company. A few other people have been talked into the mix. However, we're still trying to figure out some other things, but some of the topics that will also be included into it will include like hair care. There will be a day which will be lunch and a movie, where we could spend our times picking through movies that are on a list. Part of the short list is Last Black Man in San Francisco and a few other films. So things are getting in the ropes to get started now. We're starting the promotion process with the schools. As of right now, it's in Bernie Custis and McNabb, but they'll both be participating through the online portals instead this time.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. And your program, when you were doing it at McNabb, we had about close to over 50 youth participate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the expectation will be that now that we have an additional school, McNabb Secondary School up on the mountain, we'll be getting closer to about 100 youth. So congratulations, you're doing some great work. It's good to know that we're bringing in super producers that have done work with Mario Carey. So that's good. Rose is having issues joining us. So Rose has been in charge of the one-to-one mentorship program. About 35 youth that are enrolled in the one-to-one mentorship program. The one-to-one mentorship program is also done in collaboration with the Black youth group called Never Gonna Stop. So we'll continue to do that work with them. And I forgot to mention that the program that Samson is in charge of is in partnership with the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board. So that has been good, and we'll continue to do that work. So thank you, Samson, for all your great work.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Chance and Sabrina. Is Sabrina with us? Yes, perfect.
Hello.
So, Chance and Sabrina, can you please tell us what you've been up to at HCCI?
Yeah, for sure. My name is Sabrina. I've been working with Chance over the last about month and a half, coordinating back to school supports for Black youth in the city. At this point, we've connected with over 400 Black youth across the city, supporting them with school supplies, so backpacks, pencils, notebooks, erasers, kind of whatever their needs are. We provided food supports, one-on-one peer tutoring. We're connecting Black youth to mental health supports in the city, and just building relationships with our community and taking care of our community in the ways that our community needs to be taken care of.
Yeah, and I really liked
Perfect.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Chance. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just really liked how Sabrina mentioned that this program, like in response with COVID, was really catered to a lot of the people that we spoke with. They're all HCCI is meeting the needs of these people on a one-to-one basis, and so that's what me and Sabrina have been working on in regards to post-secondary school students and elementary and high school students for the past few months.
Yeah, and so what can you share with some of the viewers out there? What are the issues that Black families and Black youth are facing?
Yeah, for sure. So we've been navigating like food insecurity, lack of access to school supports, the lack of access to just technological supports and generally supports from the school system on getting back into school and doing that in a way that's like successful and catered to specific needs. We're dealing with language barriers. Yeah, those are some of the things we've kind of been navigating.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you very much. Chance and Sabrina have been out there in the community trying to connect. We know that COVID disproportionately affects Black, Indigenous, people of color, women, and so this work is important. And so while we I think for many of our communities, we knew that this disease was going to affect us. Seeing that the province is saying that there's going to be a second wave, others have said that there was the first wave never ended. That means that our cities really have to look at how we talk about public health, how we talk about the social determinants of health, and how it affects our youth, Black youth, racialized youth in school, right? You've also noticed that many families don't have electronic accessories for schools, laptops, and what have you. Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we know, like what you said, like that these inequalities have existed within the system, and the system is designed. But seeing the disparity of not having access to technology when our only learning environments are online environments is very difficult for the racialized youth within our community, and has been one of the main things that we have been able to see as a direct inequality due to COVID-19 and the ways that our society has changed to try and adapt to new environments. So things like language barriers are one that are already difficult in itself, but once they're exacerbated with the technological change and a lack of accessibility to that, it really does affect our communities here in Hamilton in a way that other people, in a way that is detrimental to.
Yeah, and to add to what Chance was saying, I think it's important to recognize that we're dealing with a deeply racist and anti-Black education system. And so the issues Black youth are dealing with aren't issues that are happening because of COVID. These are issues that existed before COVID and are only being exacerbated now because of this pandemic. And yeah, these issues are just becoming more pronounced. And the education system and our politicians and elected officials are not going to take care of our communities and are not going to support the communities in the way we need to. Like, we're dealing with families who are having issues navigating the online learning system because of the inaccessibilities of it, right? With nowhere to go to ask questions about how to make sure their kids are in their classes, right? It's a ton of intersecting issues and intersecting dynamics that the institutions aren't responding to.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Chance.
Sure, yeah, and even to breathe more to that, there's the issues are exacerbated even farther when we talk about the capabilities of families to be able to bring their children home and be within that online learning environment, and parents are troubled with wanting to keep their children safe because of the rise in cases, and we know that these cases are rising in the near future, but not having the capability to bring that online environment home, and whether that not even be technological accessibility, it could just be having a parent home or having that capability and that privilege to be able to not go to work that day or something like that. So like what Sabrina is saying, the issues are intersectional, and they are so different amongst all 450 plus students that we have met, but they are very detrimental.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you for your work. Thank you for your dedication. It's not lost on me that there was a news article yesterday that talked about how there are many students that don't even have access to the school bus because there's a shortage of drivers for both boards, both the Catholic board and the public board. And so some families don't know what to do in terms of, again, getting their children to school, and also if they don't want to do that, what option do they have when they have to stay home and at the same time go to work, right? So these are things that we have to contend with and also talk about. So thank you very much for your work, and for folks out there that want to support Sabrina and Chance and their work. We continue to need laptops. We are also collecting further donations as well. You can go to hcci.ca and you can donate your money so that we can continue with this work. In terms of the work that Sabrina and Chance have been able to do, we'd like to thank the Hamilton Community Foundation for providing the grants to get this work done. So a big thank you to them. So last words from Chance and Sabrina before we go.
Yeah, like Kojo mentioned, we're still looking for tech supports to send to Black youth across the city. So reach out if you have anything that you might be able to hand off to us. Yeah, I think the last thing to remember consistently is like we're the only people who will take care of each other and ourselves and we can't rely on the institutions to do that. This is fully grassroots work that is rooted in care and is being done by the community. And we're seeing consistently the ways that council's failing us, that elected officials are failing us. And it's programs like this that are actually supporting and doing real important work for our communities. It's organizations like the Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion that are actually doing real and meaningful work. It's just important to consider and think about.
Yeah, I think that was beautifully said. Yeah, that's exactly it. This is a program that is by racialized communities and is empowering racialized community. And it is only through these systems that we can truly, that recently we can see that we truly we can take care of ourselves, and, the institutions are, failing us, and it is great. So thank you. Please donate. Please donate to HCCI. Donate any type of need. That you do not need anymore, because there are a lot of families who could use that. So thank you so much. Yeah.